So in this video today, we're taking a look at the 2017 Rogue Sport versus the 2017 Nissan Rogue No Sport. So right here I have two similar equipped models, so features and everything is going to be pretty much the same. These are both S models that we're looking at. The only difference here, the black one, is with the appearance package. Now Rogue Sport and Rogue, although they share the similar name, they are completely different vehicles. Well, almost completely different vehicles. Now what I mean by that, they're based off of the same chassis and similar design language, but they're in different categories. They're different vehicles. So the Rogue Sport is not another trim level of a Nissan Rogue. It is in fact its own particular model with different trim levels of it in itself. So right off the back, let's go ahead and get started and take a look at the front end of those. As you can see, they're very similar but not the same. I would say that the Rogue Sport's front end is more similar to what the Nissan Rogue of 2016 was, which is what we're looking at here. So 2016 Nissan Rogue S, 2017 Nissan Rogue, where the refresh came in, they changed in a lot of the front end styling, and here we are now at the 2017 Nissan Rogue Sport in the S trim again. So some of the exterior styling really it's similar to what we find in the 2016 Nissan Rogue, although this is now the 2017 model. So again, the interior, once we actually get inside, let's start off with the Nissan Rogue. So see, as soon as we open this up, it's going to be almost identical in the interior. So a flat bottom steering wheel, backup camera, Bluetooth, the same shifter. So a lot of the things are actually carried over from the Nissan Rogue into the Rogue Sport. Now, where we start to see the difference is when we move on here to the back seats. Now, the Nissan Rogue being a little bit more sportier, smaller, of course, the interior is going to be different now, as well as the cargo space. So let's go ahead and take a look at the cargo space here. Now, one of the biggest differences with the Nissan Rogue is, of course, the optional third row seat. Right here, we don't have it. We do have just the divide and hide cargo system from Nissan, but let's go ahead and take a quick look inside of the Nissan Rogue Sport to compare. So again, a quick recap of the interior. See the nice materials that they have, the overall layout and everything. Now let me just get in the back of the seat of this one so you guys have an idea of headroom and legroom. So I'm about 6 feet, maybe just a little bit under. So again, I haven't adjusted the seats anyhow, but with a good amount of leg space here in the front, I'm extremely comfortable here. A lot of head space, really. I can recline the seats more if I want to. Now let's go ahead and move into the Rogue Sport. So this again is another Rogue Sport, similarly equipped. Now as soon as you open up the door, you can see how much is really almost the same. The steering wheel, the flat bottom steering wheel, the shifter, the backup camera display. The only difference here is the seats. They use a different type of fabric, a little bit different design, but aside from that, it largely remains the same. So again, similar layout from the Nissan Rogue. So if you want to screenshot it and compare the two side by side, you can start to see really the only change that you can observe here is these blacked out door handles versus the chrome ones on the interior of the Nissan Rogue. Aside from that, it almost looks identical. It's a little bit smaller. Of course, it is a sportier vehicle. Now let's take a look at here in the back end. Now, as you can see, it's spacious, but not as spacious as the Nissan Rogue would be normally. Now that same soft touch materials and everything travels here to the back. Now let me just adjust the seat for my height here in the front, and I'm going to take a look in the back and compare the space. Now again, it's going to be really comfortable. Okay, so as soon as I take a seat here in the back, you can see now, even though it is a Rogue Sport, Nissan does not forget about its rear passengers. These are standard air vents here in the back. So as you can see, plenty of legroom. Not as much legroom as the regular Rogue, but still plenty of legroom. Headroom is great still. I mean, again, almost 6 feet. I fit without a problem, but of course in the Nissan Rogue I did have a little bit extra space. I don't feel cramped. I don't feel overall like, you know, like I'm too smushed in the car. But as far as space is concerned, of course the Nissan Rogue, being a bigger vehicle, is going to offer more. Now, as you can see, a view from the front, from the back seats. Now let's go ahead and look at the trunk, which is going to be where the biggest difference happens. So I'm not going to get into numbers and, you know, square feet or anything, but as you can start to observe, you do lose out a little bit more space in comparison to the standard Rogue. Now, a little bit more space does not mean that it's small by any means. Now, the only difference here, these seats in the Rogue Sport do not recline. They can only fold forward in a 60-40 split, while on the Nissan Rogue you can do a 60-40 or 40-40-20, which gives you a little bit more flexibility when it comes to folding down the rear seats of the vehicle. Now, here in the back, you have a really different rear end. Now, that's another one of the biggest changes in the Rogue. So the interiors seem to be almost identical. Now, the exteriors, you really see a little bit more like design pop out here in the Nissan Rogue Sport. You have nice, you see these here, the brake lights, the tail lights. It's actually completely all red for 2017. The Nissan Rogue kind of mimics this style, but not exactly the same way. It really looks a lot more premium here on the Nissan Rogue Sport. Now let's take a quick look at the rear end of the Nissan Rogue to kind of compare. So as you can see, similar but not exactly the same. You see the Nissan Rogue looks a little bit more traditional SUV, while the Rogue Sport tends to be a little bit more edgy, a lot more curves, a lot more styled, and seems to be the more fun of the two. Now, one of the biggest changes, of course, is going to be under the engine, where the Nissan Rogue is going to feature a 2.5 liter four-cylinder engine, 175 horsepower, 170 horsepower, 175 foot-pounds of torque. Let's take a quick look under the engine. So, although it is called Sport, the engine, of course, is smaller with a little bit less horsepower. Now, when that starts to matter is when weight comes into mind. So, this is a QR25, one of Nissan's most famous engines, in the Altima and the Rogue and a lot of vehicles worldwide. It's tried, it's proven, one of the best engines to have in a car. Economical with a lot of power, but this is the overall layout of the 2.5 liter here in the Nissan Rogue. Now, let's take a look at what's under the Nissan Rogue Sport. Again, we're going to pop open the hood really quick, unlock the doors first, of course. So underneath here, now we're taking a look at the MR20, I believe it's called, from Nissan. Direct injection, 2.0 liter, 141 horsepower. A similar engine to what has been used in the Sentra and the Paz and the 2012 models, and what is currently now using the MV200 here in the United States. Again, a lot of power, economical, a lot of low-end torque. So really, this car is really good at getting up and go. Now, you might wonder why a sport model would have less horsepower than the regular model, but when you take into account the fact that this one is smaller, more lightweight, it actually has a lot of really good pickup. From 0 to 30, it tends to move a little bit faster than a regular Rogue would because of the more weight that the other one's gonna have. So again, here they are again, side to side. The Rogue Sport, of course, is the black one here that we're taking a look at, and the regular Rogue is this one. Again, they are available in different trim levels, each S, SV, is L. Let's take a look at them again really quick before we wrap up from the back. So Nissan Rogue here, Nissan Rogue Sport on the side. Smaller, shorter, not as long, but all the same style, equipment, and features.